Alright, so the Space Invaders monitor is put back together. It's got a new voltage regulator transistor dealie on there, and, well, I already tried turning it on, and that didn't go very well, mainly because of this. So as you know, when replacing components, it's usually a good idea to use something of the same value, and in this case, this is not. I replaced the resistor with a 3.9 kilo ohm resistor, not a 3.9 ohm resistor, so that's kind of a problem. I'm also extremely impatient, so instead of buying the right part and waiting for it to get here, what I need is a 3 watt 3.9 ohm resistor to put in there, since this thing's got fuses anyway. So I went to see what I could find at work, and we have this big resistor kit, and they're all 1 watt resistors, but I came up with a disaster that might work well enough. This is about 4 ohms right here, so yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna put that on here, and hopefully it doesn't catch fire. Well, now that that's installed, it should be ready to go, ready to turn it on and see what happens. We got everything all hooked up, and the dag ground's touching the tube like it should, and we got the thingy in the thing here with this thing and this thing. Alright, so let's plug it in. Alright, so now we have the all-in-one annoyance cable installed, and everything is still plugged in correctly and all that good stuff. We're just one flip the switch away from seeing what happens. Well, here goes nothing, I guess. Oh. Oh, I'm smoking. We are smoking. Oh boy. Ah. Okay, I knew that was gonna fucking be a problem, wasn't it? Yep. Yep. Let me find my cushion so I can see what the carnage is. Oh, that smells good. Alright. Well, that didn't last long. Ha! I can bet you that right there is not 4.9 ohms anymore. So after a little bit of investigation, I know one thing for sure. Something on this is shorted, like, bad. I'm not sure why the fuse didn't blow. I'm pretty sure, I'm no electrical engineer, but when you have enough current going through your power supply to destroy a voltage regulator, or the transistor for it, this one here, your current's too fucking high and you should probably be blowing a fuse. So that's a good $8 part just gone. So this one failed in the same way this one did. It's got a collector to emitter short, so something went through there that was way too fucking high of current, and it shorted it, welded it shut. So that's a dead voltage regulator, and it smoked my resistor. So something is very unhappy in there. I'm gonna check around, poke around for the short, but I have a feeling it has something to do with this being all jacked up and not really set right, I don't think. So I might poke around on that, see if I can get it to where it's not awful, but it could be a capacitor. It could be anything. I did hear high voltage come up when I had it on initially, so I think the flyback is working, and the hot should be doing something, but it did just get blasted with the full fucking voltage, because this thing got shorted out immediately and smoked my resistor. So we'll see. I might have to check that again before I try and fire it up. I know I have another one of these laying around, but it's fucking somewhere. Anyway, I'm gonna poke around and we'll see what I can find. And there's no better time than now to realize that I've been recording this all in like 720p, 30 frames per second, but we're gonna switch it up to a higher resolution video for the rest of the not smoking time, hopefully. So I guess the way I'm gonna tackle this, at least try to isolate where the short is. I'm just gonna take this PCB off of here, and then hopefully the short's somewhere down below there where it's easier to get to, maybe, I don't know. Either way, it's gonna be a pain in the ass, so we'll see. I have a feeling that has something to do with this piece of shit right here. Man, this is a really professional video, so I guess it's story time instead of me showing the stuff that I did because that's already done. So for a couple hours after the smoke happened, I was looking for a short, and there was a short on the B plus line to ground, and it just randomly disappeared after I pulled the hot out. So I was like, well, what the hell? So I put it back in and turned it back on again, and it did the same thing where the short appeared, and after a while of looking at it, the short disappeared. So I was just wondering what the fuck was going on. I couldn't quite figure it out. And I did end up killing this right here, this voltage regulator transistor. Got the murderizer. It suffered the same fate as this guy here. I don't know if I said that already or not. So these are both dead. However, I did have another one, so I was able to install this one right here, and that one's working. So what it turned out to be, in the end, wasn't anything that was shorted or bad. I did kind of bend up on that relay a little bit to make it so it's a little bit less likely to activate this one, which you don't want to do apparently. And yeah, I got it to work by turning this down. And what that is, that's the B plus adjustment pot. So this whole thing was jacked. Everything, every control on this that you can think of was jacked. The brightness was like just barely like away, like a millimeter away from the bottom, and the contrast was cranked up, so everything was blowed out and had like fucking raster lines, and it was just nasty. And yeah, it turned out to be B plus. So I think this thing has some sort of like crowbar circuit or something like that, where if the B plus is too high, it'll just short it to ground and supposedly blow a fusible resistor. Well, my resistors are not so fusible anymore. So if we look at it, oh, we're getting a little bit roasty toasty, and it has a nice smell to it, but this still works. So that's working now. I didn't really do anything in here. Yeah, all I did was turn that down and it came back alive, and everything was out of adjustment. I had to adjust the vertical size to get it to the right size, because as you can see by the monitor, whoever previously adjusted it did not give two fucks about this tube. I'd call that tube neglect, where the brightness is up too high and you see the black starts to glow, and then it burns that into the screen. So you got this letterboxing effect going on here. So that's just a disaster. Yeah, so I had to readjust that. I did not touch the sink. I had to adjust that one. That's the centering for the vertical. Vertical size, vertical linearity. I didn't have to touch this. So after a little bit of adjusting, which I should have caught on camera, but I got a little bit carried away because I was excited about making progress after being stuck for a couple hours, wondering what the hell I should do because I kept on getting shit to smoke. That was kind of worrisome because I couldn't quite figure out what the fuck was going on. So if that ever happens to you, first thing you should do is check the B plus pot and just center it. When I had it centered, it was about 70 volts. It's supposed to be 73, so I kind of bumped it a hair, and I got to 73 volts, and everything was happy now. And you know, my high voltage diode and all that stuff is working what seems to be pretty happily. So after a little bit of adjusting, this is the result. I took the control panel off so I can get the cable through there without having to have the door open. So plug it in and turn it on. So you can see that neck glow gets really ridiculous and then kind of calms down. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what it does. So this tube is pretty tired. You gotta give it a couple minutes to fully warm up, but it's running and it's working. It's not smoking anything anymore. And I probably need to, so I can get some sort of test pattern up on here or something like that, so I can square up the yoke just a hair. I think it's just a hair off, but I'm not entirely sure. But it's Space Invaders, And if I hadn't said before, I did get the multi-game kit, so I can play multiple games on here now. So that's kind of cool. Let's take a look through them. Well, I'm pretty sure there's a million videos on the Braze Space Invaders multi-game kit, but of course we have our standard Space Invaders here. It's just Space Invaders. You can open up the menu by hitting both the first and second player start buttons. But yeah, after it warms up, this monitor doesn't look half bad. So I guess the big thing now is I got to order a cap kit, because that's just preventative maintenance. Even though this thing is working very well, except the focus pot doesn't seem to be doing anything really. So we got Space Invaders Deluxe on here, so that's the fancy Space Invaders Part 2. And it's got like some invaders that split. Here we have Lunar Rescue, which is an interesting game. Don't mind the high score name, because I was in a Discord call and I was like playing it, and they're like, put something stupid in there. So I'm like, okay. So it's ass fuck LOL. So yeah, it's a game and it's fun. This game, you just you start at the top, you gotta make it all the way down, kind of like Lunar Lander, except it's not picky about how fast you go in. You rescue a dude, and these guys turn into invader enemies here, and you gotta avoid them and make it up to the top, and you're rescuing them from the moon or something like that. So that's a pretty fun game, running off of Space Invaders hardware. We got Balloon Bomber, which is another game where it's like Space Invaders almost, except not really. Okay, so here's the title screen, which is kind of cool. Balloon Bomber, woo. Yeah, you can definitely see the Space Invaders burn on the camera, but it's not as noticeable in person when the room is dark. But so this game, you have to shoot the balloons and avoid their shots, and if you can, shoot their shots, because if you don't, well, you're kind of screwed, because you can't move past those. Oh, and I can't play this with one hand. So you just shoot all the balloons, and then the airplane comes in and replenishes them a little bit lower each time, and then pretty soon the airplane's there harassing you as well. Alright, so now is the Jatre Spectre, which is basically just Space Invaders, but they shoot more shots and the invaders are more aggressive, I guess. So there's like 4 games in here that's just basically Space Invaders, but this is Space Invaders. Then you got Space Laser, which is really cool because it's like it's a dueling type game where you have a base on the top of the screen and a base on the bottom of the screen. You're supposed to shoot each other, and you can shoot the little space dudes for points or whatever. So there's a 2-player version of this made for cocktails, which I would like to get ROMs burnt for it so you can play 2 players. It's a 2-player only game where one player is on this side and the other player is on the other side, and you shoot at each other, which is kind of a cool dueling game. But you got your fuel up there, which is basically your laser charge. You have to have your laser charged up to at least 40 to make it across the screen, otherwise you'll shoot like halfway across the screen. So it's kind of like you try and be as accurate as possible. Of course, as the game goes on, the enemy gets harder and faster and all that good stuff. I've only made it to 17,000 on this one. Yep, I think it's an extra life at 5,000. Alright, 1 second. There. That might be easier to see that way. So then we got Galaxy Wars, which is kind of like a guided missile type game. This one you have to put a quarter in because it doesn't support free play apparently. See a little base here at the bottom, you get to go and shoot a missile, which you can guide and accelerates up the top, and you shoot the aliens at the top. I think you get hit by bullets twice on the way up. You make some weird noises doing that. Of course, all the units share the same sound because it's all the same sound hardware and all that good stuff. Oh yeah, the phosphor burn-off is kind of cool too on this monitor. Super Earth Invasion is just Space Invaders again, but even more aggressive. I'll show you how. Well, actually, just look out for the UFOs. The enemy's lasers in this game get really quick. See how it shoots that laser there. Really a lot tougher now. So yeah, one of the next things I'd like to do after I get the monitor remounted in the cabinet and also just things settled out a little better. I'd like to get some sort of way to read and write ROMs, because there are Space Invaders hardware-based games that are designed for cocktail tables, such as Space Invaders 2, not to be confused with Space Invaders Part 2, because Space Invaders Part 2 is just Space Invaders Deluxe, while Space Invaders 2 is a midway hack of Space Invaders in a way, where it's like two-player Space Invaders, so each side has a base on the monitor, and you control the characters simultaneously, and there's just the invaders in the middle of the screen, so that you'll have to either shoot at the invaders and cooperate, or shoot each other for big points. So stuff like that, or like the two-player space laser ROMs would be kind of cool to run on this. But yeah, I guess that's for now. That's all there is to do with Space Invaders. The thing is, let's turn on the lights. The way this mounts. Right now I'm going to be unable to actually mount this into the cabinet. One moment. So the problem with this thing is that the mounting in this is unlike most cocktails, where on cocktail machines usually the monitor will sit on top of a mounting bracket or something like that. No, this one's really, really brain dead. See these metal brackets right here and here? Well, instead of, laying on a cross member or something like that at the top here, it's bolted directly into the top board here, like right there and there. Yeah, it's just very dumb. And the problem I have right now is that I don't have the bolts or the screws for it. So right now I only have one screw, which is this guy. No, that's not that one. So I'll need to go to Home Depot or something to find something like this, and that way I would be able to properly mount the monitor like it should be. This really is a poor mounting mechanism, because if the wood was to fail, well, let's just say you'd be saying goodbye to both the monitor and the board set at the same time, as you'd probably smash the neck on something down here, and the board's going to get, you know, the 30-pound monitor on top of it, or however heavy this thing is. Oops. Let's install that the correct way. So yeah, for now, that's a working Space Invaders. Also, look at these scan lines. Whoa, you know, people always wank about scan lines with their CRT monitors. You know, I never really see scan lines on color monitors, but yeah, you never really see scan lines until you get black and white going here, because that's where you start to really see it, apparently. So yeah, that's just kind of cool. It's a black and white monitor, and it works now because I unfucked someone's tinkering with all the knobs, which caused permanent damage to the tube. Nice. Way to go.